Hi guys, welcome back to the Earthly Delights podcast. This one's going to be slightly different, as you may have seen from the image art. We're going to be doing a coronavirus antidote podcast. Maybe it's a series, maybe it's a single episode. Jim, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. The main thing is to try and keep people somewhat upbeat during these precarious times.
Yeah, I think if this pandemic has shown there are no rules, so we're just going to take inspiration from that. And if this goes only one episode, take it as it is. Maybe we're going to do this for the rest of the year. Who knows where we're going to go? I think, obviously, even though this isn't going to be actually solely about coronavirus, that's the whole point. It's the antidote to coronavirus. It would kind of be, it'd be negligible, Jim, if we didn't actually address it. Don't you think?
Fair. Yeah, fair.
So, I mean, obviously, I'm living in Madrid, so we're slightly more advanced in our journey towards hell. So, it's just coming over the horizon. We can just about see the fiery gates. So that's where we are. We've been in lockdown. Haven't left my house since last Tuesday. We are currently recording on Thursday. So I am 9 days stuck at home, sympathizing.
9 days with no fresh air.
I took the bin out once, which is a funny story. Where, as people may or may not know, in Spain you can't leave the house for unwarranted reasons. So, and if you do, you can potentially get a fine, or if they catch you over and over again, maybe even thrown in jail. So you're not allowed to leave the house, basically, unless you're going to go to the supermarket or you're going to go to the hospital. They're the only two valid reasons that you're allowed out into the open. However, there is one loophole, as there is with every single rule, and that means you can take out your garbage. So, Louisa and I normally, obviously, no one likes taking out the garbage, and I played my cards pretty bloody well, and normally Louisa would take them out. So, pretty proud of that fact. But what's happened is now taking garbage out has become a luxury. So, as Louisa noticed better than I did, actually, and so she offered to let me take out the waste and she would take out the recycling, and that way we'd both get to stretch our legs. So I have been out once, guilty as charged, to take out the bin.
How was it?
Phenomenal. Really quite exceptional. I live on the ground floor, so I don't even have the luxury of going downstairs. I literally just walk straight out of the building, and the bins are a metre from. It's not like in England, you have pathways and long drives and all that shit. Yeah, that doesn't happen in Spain. So I just step out the door and there's the bin, but I allowed myself an extra little stretch. And
how was that fresh air?
Emotional. You can't even just the price of freedom. Like I said, I genuinely sympathize with prisoners. I have to do my workouts in my room, and then my room stinks of shit. So, or I just turn fat, so I've chosen the smelly room. That's basically it. I share a toilet with Louisa, so there's really no luxuries going on here. So it's hard times, Jim. It's really, what's the crack? The crack is pretty bloody terrible right now.
However, right, I do think that you're going to appreciate fresh air so much more than you did previously.
Yeah, in 2025, when by then.
It's it got a little squirrely, I reckon.
Squirrely,
just a little squirrely. Yeah,
thoughts can get squirrely in these times. It's squirrely times.
For sure.
Talking of squirrely, we've kind of come across this word recently.
For sure.
Well, I'd come across it maybe about a year ago and I brought it to your attention. I think it's a phenomenal word. I'm not sure how many people know of the word. But do you want to just kind of give them a brief explanation? Yeah, for anybody listening who just has no idea what squirrely means. Just enlighten them.
Well, basically, I remember you told me about squirrely 6-9 months ago. And I thought I knew what it meant, but I never really interrogated you, or I never really interrogated the word, and I never really heard it after. And then I was listening to a podcast maybe last week. We will play the clip, and within the podcast, within like 20 seconds, the word squirrely was used 4 or 5 times. And it really changed my perspective on the word. since then I can't get the word out of my head. I feel I can apply it for so many different scenarios, and I think it would just be ridiculous for us not to spread this now that we have just now that I personally like taken it. Just
and because it just, if there's one word that could just perfectly describe the situation, because I'll be honest, Jim, I've spoken to a few friends in England, and sometimes I'm lost for words. It's hard to try to describe the situation.
For sure,
but I
man.
think, I'm no Russell Brand. I don't have a complete a hold of the English language, but I think if there is one word which could just very eloquently, just perfectly, succinctly describe, what I'm not doing, I'm not being succinct. I think if you could just use that one word to describe this moment, it would be squirrely. These are squirrely times.
They are, totally squirrely times.
Totally squirrely. So, look, with that in mind, this might be the piece of work I'm most proud of in my 23 years of living. We have created a little jingle. I'm going to first give it to you, people, without the background music, just so you can really kind of grasp what squirrely means. Let that seep into your skin. Really become one with squirrely. And then once you've kind of got to grips with the word and this life-changing moment, then I'll play it with the background music and we can start with the rest of the podcast. Yeah, Jim?
Yeah, let's dance.
All right.
Then that's when I think things get a little squirrely.
Yeah, they have gotten squirrely for me.
They get squirrely for all of us.
Yeah.
It's called life, man.
Yeah.
It's a fucking squirrely, the squirrely thing.
Squirrely.
Adjective 1, mildly insane. 2, unpredictable and jumpy, often in a cowardly way. 3, nutty, resembling a squirrel looking for nuts. I read about some squirrely guy who claims he just don't believe in fighting, and I wonder just how long the rest of us can count on being free.
So there you have it, folks. There was the official explanation. And what we're going to do from now is we're going to, instead of having the intro music for the normal podcast, now that we're doing this coronavirus antidote series, we'll be using this as the intro and outro. Just bless your ears, bless your day, because I think we all need it at this current squirrely time.
Then that's when I think things get a little squirrely.
Yeah, they have gotten squirrely for me.
They get squirrely for all of us.
Yeah.
It's called life, man.
Yeah.
It's a fucking squirrely thing.
Squirrely.
Adjective 1, mildly insane. 2, unpredictable and jumpy, often in a cowardly way. 3, nutty, resembling a squirrel looking for nuts. I read about some squirrely guy who claims he just don't believe in fighting, and I wonder just how long the rest of us can count on being free.
There we go, people. Jim, that's Mozart-esque. If that doesn't make it to the number one charts, then there's really no hope for anyone here. What?
Yeah, here I'm happy with the work. That's all we can be. We're happy with the work. That's all. Yeah.
All I can say is, if that doesn't get the Grammy next year, then what world is this worth? I mean, is it really worth living in a world like this where that doesn't get the Grammy? That is up there with any Billie Eilish song you've ever heard.
Agreed upon. Also, I'd love to hear people's initial reactions to this word and whether they are open to using it in the future, particularly during these times, which I personally believe could definitely be described as squirrely.
No. So, look, if you're a patron of the podcast, you want to spread the word, obviously tell people to actually download the Earthly Lights podcast, but also just incorporate squirrely into your daily vocabulary. You've gone, summer's coming soon, you've gone to the ice cream van, long awaited, you bought your Frosty 99p, and you drop it. That's squirrely. Your friend's telling you a story, you think it might be bullshit, you're not quite sure, but you think you're pretty sure. With every passing word, you're more and more sure. And then you confer with another friend, and they confirm your fears that your friend was actually being a nonsense merchant, as my friend Jim would say. That's squirrely. The times that we're going to come out of after this, people may be losing their jobs, people may be, economic depression. Squirrely times. So really, squirrely can be used, if someone makes you a cup of tea, put too much milk in. Is it really a cup of tea anymore? Squirrely. So it could just be used for any situation really. So just try to incorporate into your daily lives. Maybe get your parents to say it, your grandparents to say it. Make this a generational thing. We're not going to what is that thing where you like put a thing on it so people have to pay you all the time? Like
what's it called?
Patent. There we go. We're not going to put a patent on it. We'll do this for the good of the people. So spread Squirrely, spread it far and wide, people. But look, that's enough about Squirrely. Jim, this was kind of your idea. So do you want to take the reins?
Yeah, well, because I'm by no means an expert in any of the current topics in the news right now, almost all dominated by coronavirus. I thought we could talk about maybe a little lighter issues that would also maybe help people pass through these times with a little few more giggles maybe. The first thing I wanted people to ponder was the fact that yesterday, so I don't know if people know, but I am trying to learn Italian, and yesterday I was telling Seb how I loved the use of hands in Italian, and in particular, there's this one action that Italians use where they kind of scroll their hand underneath their chin and then kind of flick it out with their face kind of a little bit disgusted as well,
and aloof.
And
yeah,
and my friend Seb is half Italian. He can speak Italian. But I thought he would enjoy. And my friend Jim is getting a little bit ingrained into this culture I'm so familiar with. But then Seb immediately told me that I couldn't use it.
No.
That was hard to take.
Peak times, but look, the thing is, I know exactly the movement you're on about, and you'll have seen footballers do it, guys. It's that one where you've got the four fingers under your chin, under your jaw, and you gradually, with the palm facing downwards, you gradually bring it forward, and you really extravagantly flick it out while your chin and nose are pointed upwards, with a face like I've just smelt a fart, and that's normally accompanied with a vaffanculo. That's what it's normally accompanied by, and when you do that, you really know you're in the bad books. It's Squirrely times ahead. The reason, Jim, I told you can't be doing those things, as much as I appreciate your interest in them, is that is something, not necessarily that exact movement, but the hand movements in general is a very Latin-blooded thing. And so if I was to ever see you do it, number one, I would imagine you wouldn't be saying vaffanculo in Dublin. So you'd probably have to like say some sort of Dublin thing, or just simply tell someone to fuck off, which again would sully the whole action. And
what if I did it and I only used Italian words after?
Look, this is the only way I can explain this, Jim.
Right.
I wasn't too much of a believer in cultural appropriation.
Okay.
I thought, it's a bit of this woke movement taking things too far. I only understood what they meant when you told me that you might start using this movement. I feel like it is cultural appropriation. I just feel like you can admire it from afar, but don't participate, This is something that is just that particular movement is exclusively for Italians, as are others. The ones where you kind of clasp your two hands in a claw-like position and you wiggle your wrists back and forth. That's to say, like, kind of like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's that movement. Like, what are you telling me? That's why they always say to go to the ref if you see it on football, and they're always doing that because they're like, what are you saying, ref? Like, why have you given that foul? Okay, ma che cosa mi stai dicendo, minchia? That's how it goes, okay? So when you're using these specific movements, these have been passed down for centuries, and just to have some O'Connell just come along and take these movements, it would just be culturally inappropriate, I think. Okay,
but do you not accept that culture is a constantly changing thing, and for you to say, hey, no, this cannot change. We cannot have people from this background using this beautiful, like, I only want to provide, I only want to give props to the whole movement. It's not,
you want to honor it.
Yeah, that's all I want to do.
Yeah, I think the best way to honor it is to stay away from it. You know, it's this thing, Jim. Guinness, that is traditionally Irish, right? In fact, it's so traditionally Irish that if it just crosses over a 1 hour ferry and arrives in England, all of a sudden it tastes like shit. That's how traditionally Irish it is. You won't even allow it to travel well.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen some English people, try to culturally appropriate Guinness. And, I've been to the Holy Land. I know what that tastes like. I know that creamy liquid. I know how it should taste, how it should flow down that gullet of yours. You taught me what a hot tap was, what a cold tap was. That in certain pubs, there are only specific taps that pour a good Guinness. Doesn't matter that you're in the same establishment. You want that right-handed tap. I was there when we were in Galway. And in unison, people, just to set the scene, we're in this, classic, quaint little pub. What I think Americans imagine when they think about an English pub, which no longer exists. And I was there, and there was this big gruff fellow who was behind the bar, the barman, probably the publican. And anyway, we walk in with Jim and I, Dermo, and the names of your other friends escape me. But anyway, there's at least 5 other Irishmen with me, and as we all ordered a Guinness, we all sat down, we all went to drink it. Obviously, I'm a complete novice. I'm ignorant. I don't really know what the difference is between a good Guinness because I've only drunk Guinness in Dublin, so to me it's all good. And in unison, these 5 Irish boys go, top five, and I was like, "What you want about?" And they were like all talking about like their list of like the best Guinnesses around. So that's woven into your culture, right? Now, I have seen English people often mix it with blackcurrant, just do ungodly things to it. This is how the sharing of cultures, this is how we ended up with pineapple on pizza. Yeah, with chicken on pizza. With gravy bases on pizza. I'll repeat that. Gravy bases with fried chicken on pizza. Yeah, if my nan, God bless her soul, heard of those horror stories, she would turn in her grave. She would. She didn't spend hours slaving over that dough, waiting for it, kneading it, for people to put gravy, that's not a joke, gravy instead of the base, tomato base, gravy base, sweet corn, and breaded fried chicken. Yeah? That is what happens, Jim, when cultures mix too much. And unfortunately, in Italy, we've been too generous with our cultures.
Seb, are you not an example of a beautiful mix of the cultures?
Yeah, but I'm a beautiful mix naturally. Biologically speaking, I'm a mix. You, my friend, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at life, are 100% Irish. And so
no, but what I mean is, are you not a living embodiment of a good example of some nice culture mixing?
There's always exceptions to the rule, Jim.
And why can't my exception be to the rule?
It's just not allowed. Look, this is what happens. We let you guys take pizza. You did the gravy and chicken. We let you guys have carbonara. You started putting cream in it. We let you guys have tomato sauce. You started putting onions and carrots and celery in it. Okay, this has got to stop. There can no longer. We let you guys have the words tagliatelle, gnocchi, and what do I hear people saying? Tagliatelle and gnocchi. Okay, this has got to stop. We cannot carry this on forever. We've given you too much. Is the actual fact. I've got people telling me, "Oh, is bolognese? Is that an Italian meal?" No, it's not an Italian meal. Okay, and it never would be. And if it were to be, you'd have it with penne. You'd take out the celery, take out the carrots, and it would be called ragu. Like, you can talk to your Italian girlfriend; she'll know that that's true. So we've given too much, Jim, and I, for one, have had enough of it. Bollocks to it. This is where I call the stop. And if I start seeing people doing these Italian ham movements, the last thing we've got left, it's the last relic of that Italian culture that's still true to us. Before we know it, there'll be modifications on these movements. Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
use it in the wrong context, and then what? Then we've lost everything. Then what are we anymore?
So he said, because I know you so well, the intention of bringing this up was never to change your mind or for you to say, "I know, Jim, I think we'll let you have it." It was just more for people to ponder this idea, because I think a lot of people will be on my side.
Pagan.
Not that I want to create sides. I don't want to create sides, but I think people could empathize with my really just wanting to to spread these beautiful.
What I would do
You can, yes,
is
yes.
I would spread it in story, tell your friends about this amazing thing. Tell them how it's changed your life, but just keep it in stories, let it pass on. And before you know it becomes a fable, before you know it, Disney picks it up. But don't actually use it yourself in person. Just spread the word. I think that's the way to honor that movement and that culture.
Okay, I mean, this isn't going away anytime soon in terms of spacing my mind, but I appreciate your feedback on this.
No problem.
Another thing I thought people would like to hear is how much Seb cares about the future of the podcast. Seb actually had a dream a matter of days ago that he replaced anybody who listens to Joe Rogan podcast. He replaced Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about this, Seb.
So anyone who may know me or the reason this podcast even started, potentially, who knows, subconsciously, is for the love I have of Joe Rogan, Joseph Rogan. What an incredible man, and his podcast. And those of you who are keen listeners of the Joe Rogan podcast will know that he has young Jamie, his trusty steed, who does all of his internet searches for him, brings up all the good videos when they're talking about them, or even before they're talking about them.
Vital role.
Truly vital. He is the pivot.
Yep.
And I had a lucid dream that I somehow, in some way, got called up because young Jamie had fallen ill. It wasn't necessarily coronavirus ill; it was just ill. That's all I knew. He wasn't available for the podcast, and I had to fill in because Joe Rogan had seen my phenomenal work on the Earthly Lights podcast after 8 episodes. And
was this before or after the Squirrely episode?
Oh, this is before the Squirrely episode.
Okay.
And so he called me up, and I basically had to manage it all, and I was young Jamie basically for a day. But what actually happened was I couldn't actually manage it all, and there were problems, and we had to end up just calling Jamie out, and he eventually came out like all sick and just fixed everything that I couldn't fix because I clearly was no replacement. That was quite.
Was it the pressure, or was it the actual job? Was it the idea that you were in this position?
It was like a cocktail mix of the both. Equal parts.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was, a squirrely way to end a really positive dream. And then a couple of days after that, I actually had a dream that somehow, some way, I was invited on as a guest. This was completely separate. It wasn't after my showing, my dreadful showing. It was just a completely separate a dream. And he invited me on with you, actually. And we went on and we were just talking about, what we talk about on Earthly Lights, why we started it, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And just having a grand old time with Joe Rogan. And yeah, so that was, they're my 2 dreams. This is what happens when you don't prepare for coronavirus. Anyone listening, go get a book, not a book, a multitude of books. Go get board games, go get things that will take 100% concentration, because we didn't have time in Spain to prepare for all of this. And now we've been left with whatever the internet will give us, which is basically YouTube and Netflix. And obviously there is a bank of podcasts, so I'm re-listening to podcasts of Joe Rogan's just to get me through the day. And it's probably unhealthy how much I'm listening to one specific person every single day. That's just facts. When it gets into your dreams, then you've got a problem.
So for people listening in the UK and Ireland who still have the luxury of maybe getting some last bits, what would you say?
For the coronavirus?
Yes.
Get books, get board games, don't eat all of your sweets within the first 3 days, because the
ration them out.
Proper ration, but really ration those out, because I ate them pretty sharpish and been in Strugsville ever since. My new sweet is peach iced tea, which to be fair is absolutely bloody phenomenal. But when you want that milker and you've only got peach iced tea, it's not really a good. It's tough times. So get ration out. What else is a good idea? Do exercise, some form of exercise, any form of exercise. It can literally just be anything, because unless your house is enormous and you have to walk to every single room, and it's like a huge fucking, I don't know, corridor between each room, you're going to need exercise. I mean, it doesn't help that my house is about 10 meters square. So, I mean, I'm getting.
Seb, can I just ask you?
Go ahead.
When you're in the need of some fresh air, do you just just keep the head out, kind of like a dog,
literally
in the car?
Yeah. The worst part is because we're the lower floor. Every like basement, like ground level flat, has bars in front of their windows, so I don't even get like a non-obscured view. I literally it kind of almost look like, if I sent you a picture now, it look like I'm in a well-situated prison, because I have bars across my windows, and I can just see out through the bars. So, for anyone who's seen Shawshank Redemption, not far from it. That's what I'm saying.
Seb, you should also spread the word of that beautiful moment that happened a few nights ago in your area, you know?
Oh, it's done again now. No. We've still got a couple of hours. I thought I heard something. Yeah, in Spain, basically every night they've started clapping and like hitting their pots and pans outside the windows all at the same time. And it started off as support for the medical workers who are kind of helping frontier this terrible problem. So it started off as that, but then apparently I've heard that since then it's been used to make I've only got the Spanish word in my head. Oh Christ, strikes. You know, like, not strikes. What's manifestación in Spanish? Where like you go down roads, protest. That's it, protest.
Go down roads.
Mate, I couldn't get it out. I couldn't get the English word. So they'd be doing that to protest against the king, apparently. So I mean, what is that? What's that saying? One bird, two stones, or whatever. So
what's it?
One bird, two stone, kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Something like.
So this happens every night, yeah?
Every night, every single night. So there's always a clapping or a hitting of pots and pans outside the windows every night, all over Spain. So I mean, I'll be honest with you. The first time we did it was semi-emotional, because you realise that you're actually in a community. You know, I actually think, especially as a foreigner, I think I've actually kind of fostered up a fairly decent level of community within my own little street. You know, I talk to the neighbours every now and again. We always have a joke and a laugh with the hairdresser as I walk past the barbers. I feel like I'm quite ingrained into our little community. Mm-hmm. But I mean, even in big cities especially, but even in little towns, it's easy to kind of feel really disassociated with your community, with your little road, with your cul-de-sac, whatever it is, with your block of flats, you know, whoever they are. These are people who probably see you every day anyway, or they live by you. They can affect your life. You know, if you have noisy neighbours, bad neighbours, it can be disastrous. And yet we hardly ever speak to them, don't even know who they are. And yet it's weird that in this time of, literally, it's called isolation, in some weird, warped, squirrely way, I feel kind of more connected than ever, which is a weird takeaway from this whole coronavirus stuff.
And it could continue, could improve, could strengthen.
That is the hope, but isn't it? I find it funny that you know, we've got into these kind of altered states of consciousness. You know, we're seeing people more, we're appreciating that people are people, we're seeing them as individuals, we're not seeing people as a mass any longer. And all of this came because some motherfucker ate a bat. You know, you couldn't write this script that an animal so useless, we've banished it to the nighttime. That's how useless that animal is. And that has caused all of this, both good and bad. It's pretty phenomenal. So yeah.
And I don't think there's a better way to end it.
No. So look, let's just leave it on that for now.
Yeah, beautiful.
Squirrely times. We don't know when we'll be back, guys. Maybe we'll be back tomorrow. Maybe we'll be back in a week.
Yeah, if there's demand, maybe we'll do 2 a day, you know?
Yeah, or if we go crazy enough, maybe we'll do 5 a day, just for our own sake. And maybe
maybe we'll just live stream.
Yeah, maybe we'll get everyone on this, you know? But no, listen, guys. Thank you. I wanted to take this chance, which I should have done at the start of the podcast, but I haven't. I'm like an idiot. But being serious for 1 second, I do want to thank everyone who listened to the Tom Swan Living with Cancer podcast and who reached out to either myself or to Tom. I know there were a lot of you. And even if you didn't reach out, but you just listened to it, I mean, that's enough for us. It really was the kind of, what the not backlash, what the response was amazing. I have had so many people who and this is no exaggeration, who I haven't spoken to since I left school 6 years ago. And even some people who were in my school, but I just never ever spoke to them anyway because we just weren't friends or whatever, reach out to me. So people who I maybe haven't spoken to for 8 years reach out to me and tell me how much they appreciated that specific episode, what we're doing in general, and how they're going to share it with, with their friends, with their family, or whoever it may be. So I know this is a bit of a waffle, but sincerely from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And we'll be back shortly, yeah? Is there anything you want to say, Jim?
No, I just wish everyone the best in these currently squirrely times, and we'll be back soon for sure. We're there. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Stay inside, kids. Stay inside. We're going to leave you with the best jingle you've ever heard.
Then that's when I think things get a little squirrely.
Yeah, they have gone squirrely for me.
They get squirrely for all of us.
Yeah.
It's called life, man.
Yeah.
It's fucking squirrely. The squirrely thing.
Squirrely.
Adjective 1, mildly insane. 2, unpredictable and jumpy,
Jim.
often in a cowardly way. 3, nutty, resembling a squirrel looking for nuts. I read about some squirrely guy who claims he just don't believe in fighting. And I wonder just how long the rest of us can count on being free.